Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we have discussed in detail about brachial plexus. Now I will give you a quick review about brachial plexus. First of all, we'll talk about roots, trunks, division, cords, and branches. Then we will discuss about some clinical features. Then at the end we can discuss about rotator cuff muscles and arm abduction features. Then three types of elbows like tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, or student elbow. Then we'll talk about common fractures in the carpal bones. Then we'll talk about syndromes like carpal tunnel syndrome, Guillain syndrome, and metacarpal neck fracture, which is called Boxer's fracture. Then, okay, starting from the very beginning, brachial plexus. First of all, nerve root value. You must not forget five things if you are studying the brachial plexus. First one is roots, starting from C5 to T1. Then we have trunks, upper, middle, and lower trunks. Then we have divisions, anterior divisions and posterior divisions. We can say, if we talk about roots, we have five roots like five roots: C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. Total five nerve root value. If we talk about trunks, we have three trunks: upper trunk, middle trunk, and lower trunk. If we talk about divisions, we have six divisions: three anterior divisions and three posterior divisions. Then we have cords. We have three cords: lateral cord, posterior cord, and medial cord. And why they are named as lateral, medial, or posterior, we will discuss. Then we have branches, you can see over here. Starting from the very beginning, root value starting from C5 to T1, they have anterior rami and posterior rami, or you can say ventral rami or dorsal ramis, or anterior branches or posterior branches. The posterior or dorsal rami from C5 to T1 will go to the muscles of intrinsic back muscles, or called paravertebral muscles, and anterior branches or ventral rami from C5 to T1 will make brachial plexus. You can see over here we have drawn the C5 cervical vertebrae. With that you can assume the outflow, or you can say nerves. So C5 is passing above the C5 vertebra, C6 passing above the C6 vertebra, C7 spinal nerve passing above the cervical 7th vertebra, and C8 is passing above the T1, and T1 is passing below the T1. That's a little exception, because in cervical vertebra we say all the spinal nerves passing above their respective vertebrae, but below C7 all the spinal nerves like thoracic nerves or lumbar nerves, they passes below their respective vertebrae. Okay, we talk about from the very beginning. C5 independently will give a nerve called dorsal scapular nerve. Dorsal scapular nerve will innervate three type of muscles: rhomboid major muscle, rhomboid minor muscle, and levator scapularis muscle. Then from C5, C6 and C7 another nerve starts called long thoracic nerve, and it innervates serratus anterior muscle. And we will discuss that if there is a damage or lesion to the long thoracic nerve, then that is called winged scapula or winging of scapula. It is also called wings of the heaven. Why? Because the scapula cannot hold itself or cannot anchor it with the thoracic cage, and it cannot anchor, scapula cannot anchor with the thoracic cage, and we cannot lift our arms above the horizontal level, and we will discuss why. And yes, why the causes of this winging of scapula? Maybe if we do lymph node dissection, or maybe we will do mastectomy, or any kind of surgery which disturbs our long thoracic nerve, or we put a pressure, heavy pressure on our shoulders, or maybe we lift a heavy load at our shoulders. It may disturb or damage our long thoracic nerve, which will lead to winging of scapula. Then from the upper trunk we have two divisions, two extra divisions from upper trunk: upper suprascapular nerve and nerve to subclavian muscle. Upper suprascapular nerve will innervate two type of muscles: supraspinatus muscles and infraspinatus muscles, and these are the muscles of rotator cuff. We will discuss this rotator cuff muscle also in this lecture. So from upper trunk, middle trunk, and up, other than these two extra branches, suprascapular nerve or nerve to subclavian muscle, there are no other branches from upper, middle, or lower trunks. Then every trunk will gives or emerges anterior branch and posterior branch. Posterior branch from upper, middle and lower trunk will make posterior cord, and anterior divisions or anterior branch or ventral branch or ventral, sorry, division, not branch, it is a division. Branches we will discuss over here. So you can see upper trunk, middle trunk and lower trunk, all they are giving anterior division and posterior divisions. All three posterior divisions will join together and make posterior cord. And anterior division of upper trunk and anterior division of middle trunk will make lateral cord, and anterior division of lower trunk will make medial cord. Roots of all these brachial plexus nerve root value, they are present within the scalene medius muscle and scalene anterior muscle, and trunks and divisions are present within the posterior triangles of neck. And cords, why they are called lateral cord, posterior cord and middle cord? Because they are present within the axilla, within the axillary, covered by axillary sheath in the axilla, associated with axillary artery. The cord which is present lateral to the axillary artery called lateral cord. The cord present posterior to axillary artery or medial to axillary artery, hence they are named as posterior cord or medial cord. Okay, branches from the lateral cord. First of all, mnemonic is LML or LLM. To learn by heart. LML, L for lateral pectoral nerve. Lateral pectoral nerve innervates pectoralis major muscle. Some books are written. In some books it is written that they may innervate pectoralis major plus pectoralis minor muscle. But we'll go that in this concept that lateral pectoral nerve will innervate pectoralis major muscle. Then we have musculocutaneous nerve. It will innervate BBC, biceps brachii muscles, brachioradialis muscles, and brachialis muscles and coracobrachialis muscle. Biceps brachii, brachialis, and coracobrachialis. They are the muscles of the anterior compartment of the arm. And there is no fine telling if musculocutaneous nerve being damaged by any kind of trauma, tumor trauma or infection, and then what will happen? Inability to flex the arm and inability to supinate, because supination is the function of two muscles. Supinator muscle innervated by radial nerve, and biceps brachii muscle innervated by musculocutaneous nerve. If musculocutaneous nerve is damaged, then we cannot do a feature called supination. You can see over here, if you can zoom, I will do supination, and you can see the movement of the bicep brachii muscle. See, this is normal supination, contracted bicep brachii muscle. Then again it become relax. So it means supination, a process due to two muscles. Bicep brachii innervated by musculocutaneous nerve, and supinator muscle innervated by radial nerve. And pronation, this is the function of another two muscles, pronator teres muscle and pronator quadratus muscle, being supplied by median nerve. So okay, you can see supinator muscle, supination and pronation. When your palm is toward the sky, this is called supination, and opposite is pronation, starting from spine position and prone position. Supination by bicep muscle and supinator muscle. Bicep muscle get innervation by musculocutaneous nerve, and supinator muscle gets innervation by radial nerve. Then pronation by pronator teres muscle and pronator quadratus muscle innervated by median nerve. So if the musculocutaneous nerve is damaged, then person cannot supinate his arm. Then we have if there is a lesion of the musculocutaneous nerve, bicep reflex and tricep reflex will be disturbed. And lastly we have sensory loss from the lateral forearm. You can see over here from the lateral forearm. Okay, this is the musculocutaneous nerve area, sensation from this area from the lateral forearm by musculocutaneous nerve. Okay, sensation from the medial forearm by median cutaneous nerve of forearm. Sensation from the medial arm by median cutaneous nerve of the arm, and sensation from the lateral 3.5 fingers of the hand by median nerve. This sensation from the medial 1.5 fingers by ulnar nerve, because you can see over here this area gets sensations by radial nerve, and this area by axillary nerve, because deltoid muscle area is being innervated by axillary nerve. And if you talk about the posterior part, ulnar nerve, radial nerve, and all the posterior compartment of the arm by radial nerve. Okay, now these are the three branches of lateral cord of brachial plexus. Now we'll discuss about the branches from the posterior cord of brachial plexus. It gives a mnemonic called star. S for subscapularis nerve, maybe upper subscapularis or lower subscapularis. Total 5 nerves, but to understand this concept, we wrote it star. So subscapularis means upper subscapular nerve and lower subscapular nerve. T for thoracodorsal nerve, A for axillary nerve, R for radial nerve. If you talk about upper subscapular nerve, it will innervate subscapularis muscle and teres major muscle. And subscapular muscle is also a part of rotator cuff muscle. And thoracodorsal nerve, it will innervate latissimus dorsi muscle. Axillary nerve innervates 2 types of muscles, deltoid muscle and teres minor muscle. And radial nerve, sensation from the back of the arm and wrist and all that, forearm and hand we will discuss. Okay, now we'll discuss, and this is the, LML means lateral pectoral nerve, musculocutaneous nerve and lateral division or lateral branch of the median nerve. So this is a one branch or a lateral branch which will make median nerve at the end. Then we have branches from the medial cord of the brachial plexus. And for median division or branch of the median nerve, they will join with the lateral division to make the median nerve. Then medial pectoral nerve, which will innervate pectoralis major muscle, pectoralis minor muscle. Then median cutaneous nerve of the arm, median cutaneous nerve of the forearm. Then at the end, ulnar nerve. Now we will discuss what happens if there is a lesion at there. For example, we have discussed about if there is a problem in the musculocutaneous nerve. Okay, now we will discuss about median nerve. If median nerve is being damaged by trauma, tumor, infection or any other pathology or etiology, any cause, before that you must know a concept called R-move. This is the, you can say, sequence of fracture of humerus from proximal to distal side. Suppose if there is a fracture at the surgical neck of the humerus, then axillary nerve will damage. If there is a fracture at the mid shaft of the humerus, radial nerve will damage. If there is a fracture at the supracondylar part of the humerus, median nerve is being damaged. Then if there is a fracture at the medial epicondyle of the humerus, then ulnar nerve will damage. So now if we are talking about median nerve, it means fracture at the supracondylar region of the humerus. So there are 2 types of lesions, proximal lesions and distal lesions. If there is a fracture at the supracondylar region of the humerus, there is a proximal lesion of the median nerve. But if there is a carpal tunnel syndrome, a syndrome there is entrapment of the and compression of the median nerve in the carpal tunnel, or there is a wrist laceration, then there will be distal lesion of the median nerve. Okay, then it is sensation lost. If median nerve is damaged, sensation lost from the lateral 3.5 fingers and person. Okay, now then flexion at the wrist joint and the lateral finger. Wrist joint and lateral finger being damaged because this is the area for the median nerve. Then thenar muscles, we have discussed that they have thenar muscles and hypothenar muscles or thinner muscles. For that we have a mnemonic called OAF, opponens pollicis muscle, abductor pollicis brevis muscle and flexor pollicis brevis muscle. These 3 muscles make the thenar muscles. These are innervated by the median nerve. And OAF for the hypothenar muscles, opponens digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi. They makes the hypothenar muscles and they gets innervation by the ulnar nerve. There are total 19 muscles of the hand, 15 muscles of the hand being innervated by the ulnar nerve and only 5 muscles of the hand gets innervation by the median nerve. How? Suppose, see these 3 muscles who make the thenar eminence by median nerve plus 2 lateral lumbricalis muscle. These 5 muscles gets innervation by the median nerve. And medial 3 lumbricalis plus 4 dorsal interosseous muscle, 4 palmar interosseous muscles and 3 hypothenar muscles. They make 14. So 14 out of 19 muscles of the hand gets innervation by the ulnar nerve and 5 out of the 19 gets innervation by the median nerve. Okay. Then we will discuss about the hand distortion later on. Okay, if there is a problem at this axillary nerve, we can see over here, axillary nerve will damage if there is a fracture at the surgical neck of the humerus. And what will happen? If there is a fracture at the surgical neck of the humerus or anterior dislocation of the shoulder joint, then axillary nerve will damage. Then what will happen? Because axillary nerve is innervating the deltoid muscle. Then there will be the flattening or flattened deltoid muscle, you can see, and then loss of sensation over here, over the deltoid region all, and a person cannot abduct his arm or her arm above the 15 degree. We will discuss in detail why. Then there is a pathological frozen shoulder mostly in the diabetic patients. I have also an association in the there is a stiff shoulder called capsulitis, you can see. Okay. Now we will discuss about this radial nerve damage. Why radial nerve damage? And if there is a fracture at the mid shaft of the mid shaft of the humerus bone, mid shaft of the humerus arm, it is a mnemonic from proximal to distal. If there is a fracture at the surgical neck, A for arm, A for axillary nerve. Fracture at the mid shaft of the humerus, R for radial nerve. Fracture at the supracondylar region, median nerve. Fracture at the medial epicondyle, U for ulnar nerve. So now we are talking about radial nerve. If the radial nerve is being damaged, what will happen? A wrist and finger drop. As we told you, I have told you that posterior compartment of the wrist and arm, forearm gets innervation by radial nerve. So if the radial nerve is damaged, then wrist drop and finger drop. Then if reasons are maybe repetitive use of supination, pronation, like someone is using for a long time screwdrivers. It is also called honeymoon palsy or Monday morning palsy or Saturday night palsy. Why? Because Saturday night palsy is, you can see, sleeping over over your arm. You can see over here, sleeping with arm over the chair. It will irritate our radial nerve. And maybe the usage of crutches. A disabled person, they use crutches for walking. They may irritate our radial nerve. So then wrist strength will be down because as I told you, that radial nerve is innervating all the posterior compartment of the arm. So what will happen? Wrist drop, finger drop, and if there is a loss of extension, then wrist strength is weaker as compared to extended wrist joint strength of the fist. You can see like this. If someone is having normal wrist or extended finger, it have more grip, more strength. If someone is having wrist drop, then it cannot have a strength like left side of the extended wrist joint. Then loss of wrist or elbow joint extension. And then we will talk about distortion of the hand now. Then we will talk about other details. The distortion of the hand, we talk about the distal lesion at the median ulnar joint. We have to tell the patient, please extend your fingers. He will extend or she will extend his finger normally. It is normal. Sorry. If he extend his fingers, then if I am telling a patient to extend his fingers, then he is doing like this. Like he can extend the medial fingers but cannot extend the lateral finger, which means medial claw. If he doing like this, it means medial nerve or lateral fingers are working well, but ulnar area is being damaged, means ulnar claw. If both medial and ulnar nerve damaged, then it means it is called total claw. If I tell a patient to extend his arm, it is for the distal lesions. To check the proximal lesions, we tell the patient or command the patient to make a fist. And what will happen if you do it like this? It means normal. If you do like this, what is going over here? I am telling the patient to do like this, and he is doing like this. It means ulnar nerve is damaged. Proximal lesion at the ulnar, proximal lesion of the ulnar joint, and it is a gasture. Okay, gasture. And if you tell the patient to make a fist, and he will do like this. Like this, means ulnar nerve is working well, but medial nerve is not working well. It is called proximal lesion to the median nerve, and it is called Pope's blessing or Benedict sign or ape hand. You can say ape hand. So that was about distortion of the hand with respect to the distal and proximal lesion of the median and ulnar nerve. Okay, now we will discuss about hand muscles. Before that, ulnar nerve. If this ulnar nerve is damaged, this nerve is damaged. There is also two problems: proximal lesion or ulnar lesion. Proximal lesion when U for
here, epicondyle. If there is a damage or fracture at the medial epicondyle of the humerus, it is called, it will lead to the proximal lesion of the ulnar joint. But if there is a, you can say, if a person fall down on his outstretched hand, there will be fracture at the hook of the hamate, and it will lead to the distal lesion of the ulnar joint. And what will happen? There is a loss of sensation from the hand at this area, you can see over here. And yes, basically how ulnar nerve is providing or innervating 15 muscles of the hand innervation, but only 5 muscles gets innervation from the median nerve. You can see, now first of all we will count the 19 muscles. There are 4 dorsal interosseous muscles. Dorsal interosseous muscles, they abduct the fingers. Then we have palmar interosseous muscles, they adduct the fingers. For that we have a mnemonic called DAP pad, means dorsal interosseous muscles leads to abduction of the fingers. Abduction of the finger. And palmar interosseous muscle leads to adduction of the finger. Adduction of the finger. These 4 plus 4, 8. Then we have 5 lumbricalis. Out of 5, we have the lateral 2 lumbricalis gets innervation by the median nerve, and median 3 lumbricalis gets innervation by the ulnar nerve. What is the function of lumbricalis muscle? Flexion at the metacarpopharyngeal joint, and extension at distal interpharyngeal joints and proximal interpharyngeal joint. You can see over here, proximal interpharyngeal joint and distal interpharyngeal joints being extended, and metacarpopharyngeal joint being flexed. This is the function of lumbricalis muscles, and they are 5 in number. Then we have 6 muscles of thenar and hypothenar, as I explained. OAF, don't forget this mnemonic, OAF for thenar and hypothenar. Suppose for thenar muscles gets innervation by median nerve. OAF means opponens pollicis muscle, abductor pollicis brevis muscle, flexor pollicis brevis muscle they make the thenar. Eminence gets innervation by the median nerve. Function of the opponens pollicis, you can see opponens, then abduction, then flexion of the thumb. And 3 OAF for the hypothenar muscles. For hypothenar muscles, O for opponens digiti minimi muscle, A for abductor digiti minimi muscle, and F for flexor digiti minimi muscles. So look at here, thenar, 3 muscles of thenar plus 2 lateral lumbricalis. These 5 muscles gets innervation by the median nerve, and 3 hypothenar muscles, 3 lumbricalis muscles, 6. Then 4 dorsal interosseous muscle and 4 palmar interosseous muscle, 8. 8 plus 6, 14 muscles. So 14 muscles of the hand gets innervated by the ulnar nerve out of 19 muscles of the hand. So okay, now we will discuss about the main things. You can see over here, if there is a problem at the upper trunk. So if there is a damage to the upper trunk of the brachial plexus, there is a pathology called Erb's palsy, or waiter tip sign, or policeman tip sign. As we know, don't forget a mnemonic called SAM. Why? Because S for suprascapular nerve, A for axillary nerve, and musculocutaneous. These 3 nerves basically damaged if there is damage to the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. What will happen? Suprascapular nerve, it innervates supraspinatus muscle and infraspinatus muscle. We have discussed over there. These are the rotator cuff muscles. And supraspinal and axillary nerve supply the deltoid muscle, innervates, and the musculocutaneous nerve musculocutaneous nerve DBC. What is the function of supraspinatus muscle? Arm abduction. What is the function of infraspinatus muscle? External rotation of the arm. And what is the function of axillary nerve deltoid muscle? Are both arm abduction and arm abduction, you can see simply. And what is the function of musculocutaneous nerve? Functions of muscles gets innervation by musculocutaneous nerve, flexion of arm and supination we have discussed. So what will happen starting from here? Musculocutaneous nerve is damaged, the person cannot flex his arm, then there will be extension of arm. Then it cannot supinate because there is a damage to the musculocutaneous nerve, then person will go to the supine position like this due to damage of the musculocutaneous nerve. Then if there is damage to axillary nerve, deltoid muscle is being damaged, then what will happen? There is a loss of abduction due to deltoid or supraspinatus muscle damage. Then what will happen? Adduction of the finger. Then external rotation is the function of infraspinatus muscle, and there will be no external rotation, so it will lead to the internal rotation of the arm. Why? Because as we discussed, external rotation is a function of infraspinatus, and if the infraspinatus muscle is damaged, then definitely the arm will go to the internal rotation. So there is a sign called policeman tip sign or waiter tip sign or Erb's palsy. What are the causes for the Erb's palsy in infants? During the lateral traction over the neck, or you can see in adults there is a shoulder trauma. It means that there is a more extension between neck and shoulder. It will damage our upper trunk, leads to Erb's palsy. And again we have discussed SAM for nerve supply, nerve innervation, and for muscles they regarding functions. Okay, and in anesthesia also upper trunk may damaged. And in adults, shoulder trauma and neck and shoulder extension. Then we have Klumpke's palsy or paralysis. If there is a damage or trauma to the lower trunk of the brachial plexus, it is called Klumpke's palsy. In infants, due to the upward force over the arm, or in adults, grabbing the tree branch fall off. These are the causes which may lead to the lower trunk being damaged. And what will happen? Total claw. Why? Because all the intrinsic muscles of the hand we have discussed. Which are the intrinsic muscles of the hand? Lumbricalis, dorsal interosseous muscle, palmar interosseous muscle, thenar, hypothenar. All these muscles become damaged, lead to the total claw. Then we have thoracic outlet syndrome. It also just like etiology is same like Klumpke's palsy. It means in thoracic outlet syndrome there is a trauma lesion to the lower trunk of the brachial plexus, and due to the trauma to the lesion to the lower trunk of the brachial plexus or in the cervical rib, an extra rib, it will compress the lower trunk. What will happen? There is a you can see edema, pain, and plus ischemia to the hand due to the vascular compression. So that was about thoracic outlet syndrome. Then we have discussed rotator cuff muscles. Mnemonic for rotator cuff muscles are SIDS. S for supraspinatus muscle, I for infraspinatus muscle, T for teres minor muscle, S for subscapularis muscle. So these muscles gets innervation. Supraspinatus muscle gets innervation by suprascapular nerve. Infraspinatus muscle gets innervation by the infraspinatus muscle. Teres minor muscle gets innervation by the axillary nerve, and subscapularis muscle gets innervation by the upper arm, lower subscapular nerve. So what is going on? The supraspinatus is the most commonly fractured muscle due to the tear or tendinopathy, and infraspinatus muscle being damaged in pitching. Baseball. In baseball play, they throw a ball repeatedly. So repeatedly throwing a ball, it's called pitching. It will damage our infraspinatus muscle. So what are the function of the SIDS muscles or rotator cuff muscles? Supraspinatus muscles, abduction of arm 0 to 15 degree. Infraspinatus muscle function is external rotation of the arm. Teres minor muscle function is abduction plus external rotation of the arm, and subscapularis muscle function is adduction plus internal rotation of the arm. So these muscles are stabilizing the shoulder joint, and these are the features. Most commonly damaged muscle is supraspinatus, and in pitching, infraspinatus muscle. Then we'll talk about abduction of the arm. We have discussed from 0 to 15 degree abduction by supraspinatus muscle by a nerve called suprascapular nerve. From 15 to 90 degree abduction by axillary nerve due to deltoid muscle. From above the 90 degree we have accessory nerve called trapezius muscle. Then above the 100 degree long thoracic nerve or serratus muscle. To check these nerves, simply tell the patient to abduct his arm or simply to open his arm like this. And what he will do, if there is a damage to the right suprascapular nerve or right supraspinatus muscle, he will do like this. Why? Because it cannot initiate the abduction. And how to check? If you give a support to his right arm above the 15 degree, he will do like this. He can do like this. But again, if right arm came into 0 degree position, then again it cannot lift his right arm. So that is for diagnosis for the suprascapular nerve injury. And if there is damage to the axillary nerve, and you tell the patient to do like this or open his arm like this or abduct the arm simply, and he will do like this. So it means his left arm is working perfectly nice, but right arm is abduction is 0 to 15 degree. It means supraspinatus muscle is working well, suprascapular nerve is damaged, then there may be a damage to the axillary nerve. And then if you give support to the patient till the 90 degree, and he can do like this. May go up above the 90 degree and may work below the 15 degree. It means axillary nerve or deltoid muscle is being damaged. Then we have accessory nerve. Innervating the trapezius muscle, working above the 90 degree, and you can't comb your hairs if accessory nerve is damaged, because accessory nerve is passing through the posterior triangles of the neck, and the main clinical feature they will ask in your exam that person cannot comb his hairs. So there may be damage to the accessory nerve because abduction above the 90 degree is the function of accessory nerve by trapezius muscle. Then lastly we have long thoracic nerve, or which innervates the serratus anterior muscle abduction above the 100 degree. So that was about abduction of arm. 0 to 15 degree supraspinatus muscle, suprascapular nerve. 15 to 90 degree axillary nerve or deltoid muscle. Above the 90 degree accessory nerve with the trapezius muscle. Then above the 100 degree long thoracic nerve. Which muscle is serratus anterior muscle, beginning of scapula, if it is damage to the long thoracic nerve. Okay, then we have other most common fracture carpal bone is scapula, and it will lead to the avascular necrosis, and it will go to non-union. Why? Because scaphoid gets the retrograde blood supply from the radial artery, and that fracture cannot see on the X-ray also. And most commonly fractured carpal bone is scaphoid bone. Then we have a most common dislocated carpal bone is leunate. It will lead to the acute carpal tunnel syndrome. What is carpal tunnel syndrome? Median nerve is passing through our tunnel made by the flexor retinaculum and with our carpal bones. And this median nerve is passing through this tunnel, and if there is a dislocation of the leunate, it will compress the median nerve, and entrapment of the median nerve in the carpal tunnel lead to a syndrome called carpal tunnel syndrome. There is a pricking pain over the medial area. So what are the reasons for that? First one is leunate dislocation. Second one is pregnancy. Due to edema, medial nerve may be compressed. Another we have diabetes mellitus, acromegaly, and repetitive use of the wrist in masturbation. It may lead to the compression of your median nerve. So what are these two tests? First one is Steiner sign. Steiner sign, what we do, we just strike at the medial site of the median nerve, and if the median nerve is compressed, then what will happen after striking? There will be a sharp pain over the medial area and pricking pain or numbness over the medial area. And second one is Fallon sign. In Fallon maneuver, we do the flexion at the both wrist joint like this. We tell the patient to do like this, flexion at both wrist joint. If normally you can do like this, like I'm doing, but if there is an entrapment of the median nerve, then I'm doing like this, like Fallon maneuver. He will feel or she will feel pricking pain, left side or right side, with respect to which side of the median nerve is being entrapped in the carpal tunnel. So that was about carpal tunnel syndrome. Then we have Guyon tunnel syndrome. This is a compression or entrapment of the ulnar nerve. It is mostly happen in the cyclist due to the compression of the ulnar nerve in the handlebars. Then we have metacarpal neck fracture. Metacarpal bone neck fracture. It happens in the boxers because they strike their arms with their closed fist. So there will be fracture over the neck of the metacarpal. It is also called boxer's fracture. Most commonly fractured metacarpals are 4th and 5th metacarpal neck bones. That is metacarpal neck fracture or boxer's fracture. Then lastly we have 3 types of elbows: student elbow, golfer's elbow, or tennis elbow. Golfer elbow, you can see, due to the forehand shot or repetitive flexion at the arm, there will be pain around the medial epicondyle of the humerus. That is called golfer's elbow. And what is tennis elbow? Due to the repetitive extension or backhand shot while playing the tennis, there will be a pain or inflammation near the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. That is called tennis elbow. And lastly we have student elbow. What is student's elbow? Students are giving support to their heads when they are sleeping or when they are doing focus, giving a lecture like you are doing right now. They give a support to their heads by putting their elbow on the stool, hard desk. So do like this, they do like this. So what will happen from here and here, posterior part of the olecraneal process, bursa become infected and effusion of the bursa at the posterior aspect of the olecraneal process, and there will be inflamed this elbow part. This is called student's elbow. So we have discussed three types of elbows: student's elbow, golfer's elbow, tennis elbow. Then we have discussed carpal tunnel syndrome, its etiology, its features, its clinical features and signs and maneuver. Then we discuss Guyot tunnel syndrome, then distortion of the hand, then abduction of the arm, then sits muscles, rotator cuff muscles, the innervations. Then we have discussed about, yes, the other median nerve, ulnar nerve. So you can see simply again, very importantly, this area, lateral 1, 2, 3 and half. Lateral, if you can zoom in. Lateral 1/3 of the fingers, this is the area for median nerve. It means flexion of the arm, okay, flexion of the hand. Suppose if I tell a patient to make a fist and he will do like this, it means median nerve is damaged. Means distal lesion to the median nerve. It is called Pope's sign or Benedict sign, and it supplies these thenar muscles. This is the thenar eminence made by three muscles: O, A, and F. O means opponent's pollicis, A for abductor pollicis brevis, F for flexor pollicis brevis, plus two lumbricalis muscles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 muscles of the hand being innervated by the median nerve and sensation from lateral 3.5 fingers. Then we have ulnar nerve. See, look at here. Median nerve is getting sensation not only from here, plus from the nail beds also. From here also, median nerve. For ulnar nerve, you can see over here, this is the hypothenar eminence made by these three muscles, O, A, and F. Opponent's pollicis, here we will discuss opponent's pollicis. Pollicis means thumb. Here we will discuss opponent's digiti minimi, abductor digiti minimi, and flexor digiti minimi. Plus we have 3 lumbricalis, 7, 4 dorsal interosseous muscle, 11, and 4 palmar interosseous muscle, 14. So 14 muscles of the hand gets innervation by the ulnar nerve, and this is the area for the ulnar sensations. If there is loss to the ulnar nerve, then what will happen? Okay, if we talk about, okay, now you will tell me, if I ask to check the distal lesions, I will ask the patient to extend his fingers, and he will do like this, it means normal. If he did like this, it means total claw, median nerve and ulnar nerve both damaged. If he do like this, it means he can extend the fingers over the ulnar part, it means medial claw. If he do like this, it means ulnar claw. If you do like this, total claw. To check the distal lesion. To check the proximal lesion, I will tell the patient to make a fist. If you do like this, it means normal. If you do like this, or I tell the patient to make fist and he do like this. I am telling the patient to do like this and he do give me an okay gesture. It means there is a problem at the ulnar area. It is called proximal lesion at the ulnar nerve. And if we tell the patient to do fist like this, and he tell me like this, a Pope's blessing or Benedict sign, it means ulnar nerve is good but median nerve is damaged. It is called due to the you can see proximal lesion to the median nerve. So that 4 things you must not forget. Wrist drop for the radial nerve, finger drop for the radial nerve, and due to this drop of the wrist, the strength of the palm making a fist is very low. And yes, we have discussed about Klumpke's paralysis, Erb's palsy, Klumpke's paralysis, Erb's palsy, or waiter tip sign, or policeman tip sign. Then we have discussed round classic nerve, and all this paralysis, supination and coronation. You can see if you can zoom to the last thing. Okay, you can zoom like this. Can you see the contraction at the bicep brachii muscles? While I do supinate, there is a flexion at the bicep. It means bicep muscle helps in supination, and supinator muscles gets innervated by the radial nerve, also help in supination. If they damage the musculocutaneous nerve, damage the biceps, person cannot supinate. And for pronation, we have pronator teres and pronator quadratus muscle gets innervation by the median nerve. So that was about our brachial plexus. And yes, perfection does not exist. Only God is perfect. So if you have any question,